Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And today I'm going to do something very special. I'm going to put on my teacher's hat and I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a very long time. First, I'll tell you why I'm doing it. I was on Twitter the other day and I saw this thread about an artist who started complaining that AI is stealing their work, that their work was expressly used into the training set of some algorithm, and that's unfair, and how that should be banned, why that is a legal problem, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what's going on. A lot of people think they understand AI from whatever the media says, and even the media doesn't get it, right? They're not computer scientists. So, what I thought I'll do in this video is I'm going to make a very, very baseline um, teaching session of how AI works, what is going on, right? Why are people scared of it? Why are people like Elon Musk scared of it? And how do we learn and improve from this? What are the few jobs that I believe have some time available, right? And why I am a little bit worried about it, right? So that's what I want to do in this video, and this is going to be like a beginner level thing, right? So if you are an expert ML engineer, video is probably not for you. It is. I'm going to dumb it down to a level where everyone understands it, at least the basics. So if you're somebody who doesn't have any experience in computer science, it doesn't matter. You are still going to learn from this video, and you are going to enjoy it, and you're going to understand what I've been worried about, hopefully by the end of this video. Awesome. So let's get straight to it. So here's what I want to do, okay? I am going to write a very simple computing program, okay? And I'm going to write it in a way that all of you can understand. I'm just writing it on Notepad. Let me zoom in a little bit, right? I'm going to write a very simple program. Input X. So I'm going to input an X, some variable called X from the user. Input Y, okay? I'm going to input some variable Y from the user. I'm going to write an if statement. If X greater than Y, okay? I'm just asking if X is greater than Y, I'm asking the computer for this. Then, if that's true, print X, else print Y. Now, I haven't really formatted this code. This isn't in any particular coding language. It's what we call pseudocode. But I'm putting out a very, very simple program for you to understand how traditional programs work. There is some logic that is going on in the back end of your computer, of that program. And that logic is taking inputs and mangling those inputs and giving you some output. So what is this program doing? This program is just checking whether X is greater than Y. If it's greater than Y, it's printing X. Otherwise, it's printing Y. What is it doing? It's printing the larger of two numbers that you give it. Okay. Now, this is how we did programming for many, many, many years. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what AI and ML do, right? So and I'm giving you a very baseline understanding for it. I'm not even diving deep into neural networks or any of that. I'm just telling you at the grand scheme what is happening. Let's assume we don't know what the algorithm is doing. Okay, let's assume we have no understanding, or we've never seen this code. But we know there's a box, there's a machine with, let's say, a screen, and it's asking you for two numbers, X and Y, right? And it's just spitting out an output, okay? And you don't know what the algorithm is. So let's say you put in an input. Let's say you put in 3 for X and 4 for Y. What is it going to put out? It's going to put out 4, right? The machine is just going to print 4. Now, let's say your first time in your life you're coming across to this machine, right? You've never seen a machine like this before, and it's printing out 4. Then you try a few more examples. You try 5 and 10 is printing out 10. You try 1 million and 3 million, it's printing out 3 million. So you, as a human being who's sort of smart, have started realizing it's taking two numbers and it's printing out the larger of the two numbers. Now here's the thing, right? And this is what machine learning does. This is the difference between machine learning and traditional programming. I put out a tweet about this. Let me just quickly show you that tweet. Right? So I put out a tweet about this. Right? In traditional programming, you had the rules, the code, right? This is the code, okay? You had these rules, and then you input the data. So you input the value of X and Y, and then the answer came out. It spat out an answer for you. In machine learning, you already have the answers. So you have given it lots and lots and lots of data. You've tried many different combinations of X and Y, and you're getting the output. You know that if you put 3 and 4, you're getting 4. You know, if you're putting 5 and 10, you're getting 10. You have all the answers. and use machine learning to find out the rules, the implicit rules, what is going on behind the scenes without you having any knowledge of the code behind it, right? So what happens is, if I just fed an algorithm all of these inputs and all of the expected outputs or real outputs, let's say if I fed it x value of 3, y value of 4, answer is 4, right? So I basically run it through hundreds and thousands of scenarios. What will eventually happen is that this machine will understand the algorithm, or this is the core crux of the algorithm, right? If x is greater than y, print x, otherwise print y. This is what the machine will understand. So the machine is figuring out the rules, right? The machine is figuring out the algorithm from loads and loads and loads of data. It is what you would be able to do if you tried a machine like this. Like, this is how humans solve puzzles, right? We try a puzzle, we try a few things, and then we're like, okay, I get that this is like this, right? You understand some pattern behind the puzzle. So an ML algorithm, artificial intelligence, is simply a pattern recognition machine, right? But all algorithms in life aren't this simple, right? Not all algorithms are just simply x greater than y. Let's take a slightly more complex scenario. Have you guys seen the lungs of people who get COVID? So when somebody gets COVID, they get something called ground glass opacities on an X-ray. Okay, let me just show you what these look like. Okay, so this is a lung X-ray. It's a CT. I think this is a CT scan of a lung, right? And you see that there are these ground glass opacities. Okay, I'm not even like, I don't know what I don't know how to diagnose an X-ray. I'm not a doctor, right? But let's say this X-ray has some information of a ground glass opacity. We don't need to know what it is. Now let's say a real doctor would look at this and be like, well, every part here that's black means that it's transparent, right? Light is going through. Every part that is white means that there is a blockage of that light, right? It's for example, this area might be bone or some opaque part, right? So what a ground glass opacity is, if there was an area that was supposed to be transparent, now you have these tiny, slightly opaque circular elements there, right? And a doctor learns this over many diagnoses that, oh, I need to be looking for these, right? For example, let me show you one more, right? Now, the more I show you, the more you will understand it better, right? You can see it's like a fuzzy, round, what do you call it? Like a blockage, right? Now, there are also some normal parts of the lung, right? Like, for example, this white stuff that you can see here, these are all normal parts of the lung. So there are specific areas and there's a specific pattern to how these ground glass opacities look. Sorry, I'm just moving the screen around. As you can see, this is the ground glass opacities. You can see the blockage. You can see the blockages here. And the more of these that I show you, you can see this here, right? The more of these I show you, the more you'll realize what a normal lung looks like. What are the areas that are normally opaque in a lung, and many areas in a regular lung are also opaque. What areas are not supposed to be opaque? What areas are not supposed to have this fuzzy, whitish stuff? And what is a bad lung and what is a good lung? And you'll also be able to figure out when a new, like something like a mild case, right? I think the severe cases are easy to diagnose, the mild cases are hard. Now, how does a doctor tackle this? A doctor looks at this and then says, well, I think that this has, this person has COVID. I think this is a ground glass person. This person's lungs are affected. So a doctor, through many diagnoses, through training and feedback from a senior doctor saying, no, that's not a problem. This is a problem, right? This lung is fine. This lung is not fine. By training from other doctors, from the medical textbooks, they eventually realize and learn what is a problem lung and what is a healthy lung, right? But what a doctor doesn't realize is that his brain is now applying an algorithm to this. Now his brain knows which areas are supposed to be transparent and which areas are not supposed to be transparent, right? The doctor's brain has an algorithm and he knows that, well, if these areas have these blockages, then it's a problem. So what you do if you were using machine learning or artificial intelligence is, you don't know what the algorithm is. You're a layman. So you take some doctors, you take expert doctors, show them hundreds and thousands of scans and tell them, you tell me which has COVID and which doesn't have COVID. Just mark it saying yes, no, or maybe, if you want to go a little more granular, mild and severe or non-existent, right? Just mark it in these three segments and you ask the doctors to feed hundreds of thousands of samples. Eventually what happens is an AI algorithm, machine learning algorithm, recognizes or comes up with the rules of governing what has COVID and what doesn't have COVID. And eventually gets so good that you don't need the doctors themselves to make this diagnosis. Don't believe me? You look at cancer, the person who treats cancer is called an oncologist. And AI, right, already helps diagnose cancer better than a doctor can. Better than a doctor can. Because it has understood the implicit rules of what constitutes cancer. What the doctor's brain is unconsciously doing or consciously doing, some doctors are aware, and AI can figure it out. And AI is simply better. In fact, an AI today is better than an oncologist. So it is a weird situation where this same program that I showed you, let's say this is a very complex program, I'll also tell you how the computer does this, right? I'll go one level deeper. In this program, you have just two variables, right? But in this image, let's say this ground glass opacity image, this is actually a sheet of pixels. Let's say the resolution of these images is 1920 into 1080, right? Full HD. So you have 1920 like this and 1080 pixels like this. Every pixel is mapped in the algorithm. The AI has an understanding of every pixel and understands what should be there in a particular pixel, what should be near it, etc., etc. So what's happening under the hood is instead of the AI just figuring out if X greater than Y, what it's doing is it's figuring out the exact algorithm. For example, if pixel 1, I'm just coming up with a random algorithm, that's probably not true. If pixel 1 equals, let's say, white and pixel 2, which is the one next to pixel 1, equal to black, which is transparent, and so on and so on and so forth, right? Maybe there's a very complicated algorithm for each pixel to find out whether it's cancerous or not, and together the whole picture has to make sense. Let's say the code that the doctor is unconsciously running in his brain is very complicated and spans many lines. The advantage with AI is we don't need to learn or understand that code. We don't need to know what goes on behind the scenes. We just need to tag, we just need to label, and we just need to feed the computer enough inputs and enough outputs to determine the rules, right? This is what we are doing, right? Now, how does this complicate art? A lot of people think that if you have fed a system hundreds of thousands of pieces of art, well, and you ask it to produce a new piece of art, it is just spitting out one of those pieces. That is not true. That is not true. What is happening is the AI system has figured out the algorithm, the rule set behind how a person creates art. That is what has happened. With GPT, AI has figured out the rule set behind language. Whether we know it or not doesn't matter. AI has figured it out, right? That's why even if you go to the GPT-3 API playground, there's a playground on the back end of their website, you'll see that it is about auto-completion. Right? The main task there is completion. You give it 3 lines of or 3 words of text, it will come up with the 4th word. It will complete your sentence. By default, it completes your sentence. So it has figured out language and it knows what comes after each word. Right? So what is happening is, if you have fed it so many pieces of content, what the system is doing is just understanding the rules behind art. Right? It is not taking your piece of content and producing something very similar. It is just figuring out the rules of art, which paradoxically is also what human beings do. Let's say you're a professional artist and you've been learning how to draw from very, very young age, right? And I learned to draw when I was very, very young, right? I used to sit in class and draw, pictures of Goku, right? And I used to use my pencil. Teacher used to always throw me out of class. When I used to draw, every time I drew, I got slightly better. The place, and I'll tell you this, right? This is from my own awareness of how I do things, right? I always draw Goku's cheekbones first. That's my pattern, right? It's an unconscious pattern, but I start with the cheekbones, right? Don't ask me why. I don't know why. I don't know the algorithm in my own head, right? I know exactly the distance between the eyes and the cheekbones to make it seem real. Because if you get the eyes very far away from the cheekbones, you get a really distorted image, right? In fact, there's one meme image of Elon Musk drawing meme that keeps going on the internet, which is this, right? And if you look at this image, if you just stare at this image for a few seconds, you'll realize all the parts are correct, but it's just the distance from each other is off. right? The artist has understood how to draw things, but has not understood how to distance these things, right? Like, for example, this is even worse, right? Has not understood how to distance these things correctly from each other. So his rule set is wrong. The unconscious rules he's applying are wrong, right? So what I'm trying to say is that AI is figuring out the unconscious rule set of how humans do things, and it's the same way humans do things, right? When I first started drawing Goku, I started looking at pictures of Goku, right? I used to go on the internet, look for pictures of Goku, or I had a old Nokia phone when I started entering 11th and 12th grade, where I used to click a picture of what was going on TV and of Dragon Ball, and I used to draw that, right? So I learned by emulating other people's work in the beginning. I learned by understanding or drawing enough times so that unconsciously I understood the rules. And that is the theory behind practice and repetition. The reason people ask you to repeat things hundreds of times, the reason gymnasts ask you to repeat things hundreds of times, the reason if you want to perfect something you have to do it for 10,000 hours is that you are training your algorithm unconsciously to become good at it. And that is exactly what AI is doing. Right? Now, tell me legally, you looking at a picture of Goku and drawing it, learning it for the first time, is that illegal? Is that illegal? Right? And this is the legal problem with AI, right? You cannot tell the courts that, hey, it has seen my training, my photo has been put in its training set, that is illegal. If that is illegal, then every human that has ever taken inspiration in life will go to jail. We cannot set that precedent, unfortunately or fortunately, right? So we are stuck in a situation where you can feed anyone anything's training data, just like you can feed a human anyone's training data and saying, learn from this. And then once you have unconsciously remembered and understood the rules, you are now a good artist. The best artists in the world are all artists who have gotten very good at their craft because of hours and hours and hours of repetition and practice. Right? Some are born with natural talent, but that natural talent is usually to learn better. Paradoxically, it's to be better at learning, right? Or their initial setup will be slightly better because they're exposed to more art as kids, right? So what has started happening is we are now creating a war on AI art legally without understanding that it also puts humans in danger when you say things like that, right? Because you now prevent any human from ever taking any inspiration in life. Now, this algorithm that we spoke about, this unconscious algorithm that the AI is figuring out, can also be applied to things outside of art, right? I'll give you two examples. One is the game Breakout. Have you heard of the game Breakout? You've probably seen this, right? You have a paddle, you move the paddle around, there's a ball, and then you keep breaking the bricks, right? You can break bricks. It's a very fun old game. The funny thing is, if you optimize the AI to play this, and tell it the only condition is don't let the ball drop and get the highest score in the fastest amount of time, which you can do. You can set these as parameters. Eventually, the AI will learn how to cheat. I wouldn't really call it cheating. It will learn how to play in the boundaries of the game, but it's still kind of cheating. What it will do, and this is funny, this ball, it will make the ball go to the side first. So it will make the ball hit this, then it will make the ball hit this, then it will make it hit this, then it will make it hit this, and it will break the left side first. It will focus on the left side or the right side. And then what it will do is it will hit the ball at such an angle that it goes above. In every of these Atari games, there's always some space on the top where the ball can wedge. Right? And what happens is it'll go on top and start bouncing like this and start breaking things from the top without ever having to hit the paddle again. And you can hit it in a specific way that it gives you a perfect score. This is the problem with AI. It is not really cheating, but it is finding a shortcut to success. AI will always find the best path. This is the reason I feel that once an AI starts competing with human beings, which has already started, it will win because it will find the shortest path to success. That's literally its program. It is asked to find the shortest path to success. So you put humans in a situation where it is a losing game, right? And I would argue that the entire concept of being a human is an algorithm. A lot of people disagree with me, especially religious people, right? That there's something special about human beings, that they have consciousness. I don't think that's true. I think if you simulate a mind, if there's a machine and the machine was Varun Maya. It pretended to be Varun Maya. It gave all the answers that I gave. It was able to speak on TV like this. It was able to speak to you directly. Eventually, I believe that that system will become conscious. Anything that mimics the mind becomes the mind. That is a piece of opinion. I need to clearly mention what is opinion and what is fact. But that part is opinion. That's what I believe, right? But what is fact is the fact that humans are an algorithm. We are very much an algorithm, and AI is just going to outclass us because it will copy our algorithm, it will become as good as us, and then better, right? It will find the cheat code to being the best human. And the problem is, humans already compete against other humans in the workplace. This is the part where I'm worried about AI, right? We already compete with other human beings, right? I probably make more money than somebody who's, let's say, 30 years old and like my age, and hasn't done as much as me, right? So I'm in some way or the other, I'm competing with that person, right? You all are familiar with competition. Now imagine that there's this AI that was able to thrash me at everything that I did, from writing to video content to everything. Then what? How do I even hold a candle to it? This is why my own life has changed, right? Like I'm now optimizing to get realistic. I'm optimizing to retire because I can't compete. I know I can't compete, right? And I'm not going to fool myself that I can compete, right? And I'm going to try to compete as far as I can, right? I'm not going to go gentle into that night, right? I'm going to fight as hard as I possibly can. I think another 5 or 6 years, and I have an idea of or my own assumptions of what I think will last till then, right? And I'll tell you what I think those things are. I think one of the first things to go away, paradoxically, is text. This you guys already know. It turns out that the rules and the algorithm behind producing text is it's very simple, and AI is able to do it not just in English but in every language. Right? It's able to do it in a lot of different languages. Right. Second is actually code, because when you write code like this to create some sort of interaction in your app or in your game or whatever it is, you are writing mostly simple lines of code. Your logic behind can't be as hard as, let's say, figuring out human consciousness. It's probably simple. Touch this button in the game and then reduce 10 points of life. If you've done my Unreal Engine course, you already know this, right? Like I have a free one on my level 2 channel. You can see you go over a trigger box, you can trigger some health reduction or some particle effects or whatever, right? So code is simple. It is very easy for an AI to figure this out, and we are already there. Let me show you an example. There's a guy called Stephen Balaban on, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, on Twitter, who actually just asked OpenAI to create a Python game where you take care of a pet cat. The pet cat has two actions: pet the cat and feed the cat. The cat responds accordingly, right? And he just fed the comment above into Code DaVinci 002, which is a code generation AI which is available on the OpenAI playground. Most of the code was written by the AI itself, and he just used DALL-E to make the pet and feed buttons, right? The only thing he had to take from outside was sprite sheets, because AI can't do movement very well yet. And I'll tell you the one drawback with where we're at with AI, which is paradoxically something we can exploit, right? But as you can see, he made an entire game by just asking it, give me a game, right? And because these are simple algorithms to make a game, feed the cat, increase its health, right? Like so simple that I feel like anybody in the next 3 or 4 years is going to be able to talk to a computer and just say, well, give me an app that does XYZ, right? And the hard part then will be to get users on the app, because if you're able to do it, so will everybody else. This is why I've been crazy about distribution over the last 2 years. I've already known this has been coming for a while, right? And GPT, like GPT 3.5, ChatGPT has been the icing on the cake, but that's already existed for quite a long time, right? So I've been very bullish on distribution, because once you have distribution, then I can use AI to generate anything. Let's say you come up with a great idea, and I hate to sound like this, right? But this is the truth. Let's say you come up with a great idea. I can tell you, yo, you have a great idea. I'm going to copy it. I'll just ask OpenAI and I'll tell it, hey, Rahul has come up with something awesome. Can you just give me the code for it? And it'll give you the code for it. And it's not cheating or illegal, because it's going to be free software, right? Or maybe $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever software. And it'll give me what you've taken a year to do. Because coming up with the logic in the first place is hard. Reverse engineering the logic from outputs is easy. right? So now that you've given me the output, now that you've proven what's possible, I just feed that into AI and it gives me the inputs, right? And I take that input, put it on my whatever, some website or some app, and because I have the distribution, I'm going to make the commercial outcome from it. Right? Now you might think, oh, what a bad guy, but it's not bad. If that's the only option available, if that's the only option that the world is going to leave me with, what the hell am I supposed, what do you expect me to do? Be unemployed? I'm not going to do that. Like I told you, I'm going to fight, right? And I feel like this is the best opportunity, right? To do it, and code is going to go away very soon. Especially because most people who are writing code are writing simple code. The harder part would be things like system engineering, things like coordinating with the team, things like getting it on the app store. Because today, if you want to build an app, get it on the app store, there's a process. You have to fill in a form, you have to contact the Apple guys, you have to be very sweet to them. Lot of process, right? That will be the harder part. Systems engineering will be the harder part. Writing code will get easier. It's been getting easier for a very long time, right? The next thing which I feel will counter to this, right, which I feel will survive for many years, and this is something that we've been very bullish about, is video. There's a reason we started a channel called AVTV. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AVTV. It's another channel I run. It's one of the fastest growing channels in India right now. And the reason we started is because video is very hard to get the rules of, right? Getting the rules of a game is simple because somebody has coded the game. It's probably simple rules at best, right? But a video has so many moving parts. At best, you'll be able to create video filters very easily with AI. New kinds of video filters that you haven't seen, right? Let me show you an example. This is Keanu Reeves.
What do you think happens when we die, Keanu Reeves?
I know that the ones who love us will miss us.
This is an anime filter, right? This is real life footage, and somebody's put an anime filter on top of it, and it doesn't look great, right? As you can see, this AI is still struggling with motion. But imagine if you wanted to fine tune this. Imagine if you want to say, well, now I want this guy but without the glasses. Or now I want this person but with slightly longer nose. You don't have fine control of the parameters. Now I want a chart to appear here and show, number of people who died in the last 10 years. Manipulation at that micro level. So what AI gives you is macro level flexibility to generate the base of something. But the micro level fidelity, which is tweaking the small things, is going to be harder than expected. It's not going to be easy. And I feel like video is 99% that. With text, it's not that because of training data. Video is exactly this, right? My name is that text notepad word KB. It'll probably be in the MBs or probably GBs, right? So it's hard for us to feed all that data to an AI. We don't have that much computing power available yet. 5-10 years down the line, maybe we're going to hit that number. But what I'm saying is eventually even video editing will be automated, right? Fully automated, but it is the last mode to fall, right? In fact, we shouldn't even be calling it video editing. We should be calling it video manipulation or video mastering because it's going to be everything to do with video. I think just putting up a chart next to somebody speaking is not going to cut it, right? You need to understand the analytics, you need to understand the interfaces, you need to have the network, lot of things, moving parts, right? Which is why we are betting on it. Right? If you look at, we have this thing called avtv.com/course, right? A lot of people ask me like, why, Varun, you can do so much. You can teach people coding. Why are you moving into video editing? Why of all things video editing? Video editors get paid 30-40K. I'm like, today it's called video editing because people understand it. Tomorrow people will understand this is the last mode. This is the last thing that is possible for people to keep their jobs. And it'll also be much better paid because everything else, all the capital from there that companies have will move into this, right? So I'm betting big on video. I don't think it's going to be called video editing in the long run, but if I'm going all in into something, it's because I've thought a lot about it, right? And also distribution. Like I keep saying, and people get confused with this, right? I say that content creation and distribution is the future. No, I say distribution is the future. Being a content creator is the future. Creating content is the past. What does that mean? It means that now that I have a successful channel on AV or now that I have a successful Twitter account, I can create content easily. I can go to GPT-3 and just generate tweets like for the next 1 year and just automate it. But getting to 100K followers in the first place is hard. Owning that distribution, that supply chain is the hard part. Putting stuff in the supply chain, putting products in the supply chain is going to be easier. Which is why we're betting deeper on video. right? Which is why I'm double clicking on video. And if somebody like me is worried, and I think there's like 10 years down the line, I don't know if even this is going to survive, but this will be the last thing to go. That's my bet, right? And you can see the tech for images have already come out. The tech for text is very, very good, right? We use more GPT-3 than we use content creators or content writers. Let me be very clear about that. We use more GPT-3 than we use content writers. I use this tech on a daily basis, right? So it's not some hocus pocus that may happen or may not happen. It is something that we use today. But video, very difficult. We would not outsource it, and it's going to take a very long time till it gets to the point of outsourceability. So what is happening? I'm just going to summarize this entire video, right? We've created a monster that is able to figure out the rules behind everything. One day it's going to figure out the rules behind human beings, how to be a human. And then we're in serious trouble. Until that point, along the way to doing it, it is able to figure out the rules of each individual thing. Right? For example, when it comes to picking up things, now there's now an AI hand that can pick up things very accurately because it's been fed in 3D space examples of the hand picking up things correctly. In the beginning, somebody held an Xbox controller, picked up the thing hundreds of times, right? And now it's able to do it by itself because it knows where to go, what to clasp, etc., etc. It's understood the rules. So we've created a machine that can figure out the rules from any scenario, and that thing is really good. And apparently, it's also what human beings do and what we are paid for in the workforce. We are going to be, most of us are going to be out of jobs in the next 10 years. Mark my words, right? This is going to happen. And a lot of people say new jobs are going to be created. The last steam engine revolution created new jobs. True, but we are also increasing the number of humans here. Not through population outburst, but because AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the concept of producing a human. We are producing a human being. And we're telling the human being, okay, now you are $6 a month, go compete with the person who's taking a 1 lakh a month salary. As a business, who do you think I will hire? It sounds bad, but hey, what choice do I have? Right? You're giving me two options. One is 1 lakh a month, the other one $6 a month. And software already exists. We already use software, except now the software is going to get much, much, much better and do all our tasks. So I don't know how humans will take to being replaced by a $5 or $6 a month software, but it's going to happen, right? And you better be prepared for it. And I'm going to try as best as possible to make sure you make money over the next 5-6 years. My recommendations are keep your person burn rate low, learn relevant skills that will last for the next 5-6 years. This is an evolving domain, right? So if I find out new information, I'm going to communicate it to you as fast as I can. That's why I subscribe to this channel. Yeah, I know it's grim times. I don't have a solution. I'm not an influencer. This is probably something that we are creating a solution to us, unfortunately. So probably no way out of it. But hopefully one day, we figure something out, or at least get rid of the idea of jobs forever, so we can just have fun as human beings. Awesome. Bye.